Hey, everybody. Marcus C. Williams here. And I'd like to wish you all a happy new year. Today is Lunar New Year. So many people all across the world celebrate this holiday. It's a great holiday. You know, um, it's legitimately New Year until, you know, westernized society decided that we wanted to change the way that the calendar worked. So now here we are. We use the European calendars. But you know, it being the first day of the new year, just we couldn't even have a couple hours before governmental officials just said something crazy, outrageous. Like there's been a lot of stuff going on. Um, I haven't heard the White House say one thing about Antifa burning down Atlanta and destroying all of the businesses and stuff in corridors there. That's going on right now. I don't know if you guys know. So that's something that's very serious. It's not being addressed at all. And something very interesting about that, we see Antifa all over the country come into communities that are ethnic communities. They come into the communities, they protest and incite riots, destruction, looting. Now, where do they incite this at? Do they incite it in the suburbs where they're from? Do they incite it in the affluent neighborhoods where they're from? No. They incite these type of destructive acts in Black communities. And if you live in Rochester, where I'm from, you'll remember that we had the riots and they destroyed all of the Black businesses up and down Black business corridors in Black neighborhoods. And they tore up and burnt down and destroyed other businesses in those neighborhoods as well, making it more difficult for people in those neighborhoods to actually access the resources that they needed from those businesses. For example, Family Dollar, right? If it's all broken into, you can't buy nothing from there. So right now they're tearing up Atlanta and they're starting to get it under control, but it's all broken into. It's really, really, and I'm trying to put it nicely, right? Because I'm on the internet and I don't want to say anything crazy, outrageous, but it's crazy outrageous that nobody in the news media anywhere is talking about what's going on in Georgia right now, right? Like it started last night, they're destroying stuff and they don't even talk about what happened, right? So this guy went, shot these cops, right? Okay, shot the cop, okay, because they're I guess the bottom line ends up, the origin of this is they're trying to protest them building a new training center facility for the police or whatever the case is. But then there's some other weird stuff that they attach to it for their attempted reasoning or whatever the case is. But it's a bunch of nonsense. Okay, the guy shot the cop. Okay, the other police returned fire. Okay, killing the guy that shot the cop. Shot the cop first, right? Shot the cop, ambushed the state trooper, right? The Georgia state trooper, right? And he got killed. And y'all want to tear up the city, the Black city, right? You understand what I'm saying? You want to go into the Black city and tear up the Black city and tear up all Black people's stuff. The stuff that we have access to, the businesses, the shopping places, the hotels and stuff like that, right? This is outrageous. And we see it continuously across the country. These people that claim to be allies, which is a whole nother separate conversation, which claim to be allies of Black people, are doing stuff that's completely destructive to our communities. And our people are going along with it. That, for me, is a very glaring issue that seriously needs to be addressed. Because if you're telling me that you're for Black people, but you're inciting riots in Black neighborhoods, Black communities, and places where Black wealth is focused and centralized, I have to ask, do you really give a goddamn about Black people? And the answer is no. You just want to have, moral superiority and feel good about, oh, I'm doing something justified. Let me be a social justice warrior while I'm destroying Black communities and the future of Black people in the nation of the United States of America. These people are abhorrent, absolutely abhorrent. And the fact that the White House hasn't said boo about it is extremely alarming. The fact that you can't really see it in the news anywhere, nobody's saying anything. Why? Why is it like this is a cover up, like it's completely been silenced? Okay? Like this is something very important, but they won't broadcast this because it doesn't go along with their narrative that they're trying to cultivate right now. It's very, very upsetting. And I'm going to say that in a nice way, okay? Because I got some other words to say about it. But to the White House's credit, right? You'd think they'd say something. They don't. Now we got Kamala Harris. You know, Kamala Harris didn't even wish us a happy new year today. I got questions about that. But you know what she did talk about today? Roe versus Wade and abortion. Okay. Everybody's very sensitive on these topics. Mm-hmm. So I just want to point out what she said. Matter of fact, let me see if I can play it because I haven't been able to link it up to the stream to actually play it. Let me see if I can play it like this. Hold on. Let's see. And you guys let me know if you can hear it because it's outrageous that this is our vice president. Here, let me see.
The decision. Today, we should be celebrating the 50th anniversary of the decision in Roe versus Wade. Instead, after the Supreme Court took a constitutional right from the people of America, we are looking at a situation where extremist so-called leaders in states around our country are depriving women of the right to have access to reproductive health care. We are looking at a situation where these same extremist so-called leaders are passing laws criminalizing healthcare providers, where pharmacists are afraid to give women medication that they require to exercise the right to make decisions about their own body. This is a moment for us all to stand for freedom and liberty for every person, for every woman, everywhere.
Okay, so that's our vice president. You know, I don't know if you were familiar with Kamala Harris before she became president. Kamala Harris is a lawyer. She used to be an attorney general in California, or district attorney also. And she's got a long, extensive law background. She's put tens of thousands of Black people in jail because of her policies and her work as a prosecutor. So she just said something very interesting, being that she's a lawyer. And I had to back up her credentials for this, right? She's a lawyer. That's been her job for decades. That's her profession. She is a professional lawyer, right? She just sat there and told the American people that abortion is a constitutional right. Has she never read the Constitution? Did she not take multiple oaths of office to uphold the Constitution? I know many people feel many ways about abortion, but let's be clear. Whether you love abortion, whether you don't like abortion, whether you're indifferent, the fact of the matter is abortion is not in the Constitution. Nowhere can you find the right to abortion, because that the concept of that is ridiculous. Okay. It's the concept that should be something that the government says would be something that we need to look at how it's implemented in other countries. It's really, 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 really concerning that she is a lawyer and the second highest person in a political position as representation of our government to say that abortion is in the Constitution, and that the Supreme Court, this is the crazy thing, right? That the Supreme Court overturned a constitutional right. The Supreme Court can't overturn a constitutional right. The Supreme Court decision of Roe versus Wade is a decision, right? It's not part of the Constitution. So this highly connected, credentialed individual who is supposed to represent all of us is sitting there lying to the American public, telling us that we've got people that are extremists making it so that people can't have abortions in certain states. They're extreme because they don't want to kill children. I'm sorry. Let's go to your homeboy Chuck Schumer, who's our representative in Congress for New York State. Chuck Schumer, for the last 2 years, has been telling us to kill our babies because it pays him well. The day after the election happened, he got on the TV, national TV, and said, oh, we need to naturalize all the illegal aliens that are in the United States right now because Americans aren't having enough babies. But just mind blown, right? Because for the last 2 years, he's been telling Americans, specifically Black Americans, to kill their babies. But we're not having enough babies? These are the people that are running our government. And people give them the time of day, and then they go out and they spit and repeat and regurgitate their ridiculous, very evident. Like, if you open your eyes, like you don't even, if you open your ears, like, you don't have to be of the greatest level of intelligence, okay, to go grab the Constitution and say, well, where is it? Where is it in here? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not a thing. Like, you can't tell me that something's in the Constitution. Matter of fact, I got a pocket Constitution right here. Somebody show me where it is. Somebody show me where it is. I got I got a poster of the Constitution. I got the Declaration of Independence. Somebody tell me where it says that in there. It doesn't. See, the concerning thing isn't that she's over here talking about, oh, the overturning of Roe versus Wade is a problem. That's not the issue. The issue that she said it's in the Constitution is the problem, because it's not. And she's lying to people who don't know what's in the Constitution, who haven't read the Constitution, which is another problem, because they don't teach the Constitution in schools. And that's a serious issue that we need to actually fix and address. But fixing and addressing that is something that the people that run the educational facilities would have to do, and the people that are on the state boards of these schools and stuff would have to do. But they don't want to, in many states and places, to teach that, because they know the more that you know, the more likely you are to push them out. And that's what this all goes back to. She called these individuals extremists, okay, who are passing legislation limiting abortion access. Almost every single state, even the state that you would think has the harshest critique of abortion, has abortion up until a point. You understand what I'm saying? We're not talking the morning after pill. We're not talking Plan B here. We're talking 13 weeks plus level of abortion. You know, we're talking non-medically needed abortion. You know, we're talking about all of these things that they refuse to talk about. It's a lie. It's a lie. And living in New York State, where they have late-term abortion, where you can basically kill a baby right up until it's delivered, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I don't know if you guys are familiar, and I'm gonna slide out of this point, but in DC, I want to say 2 years ago now, they have late-term abortions, and they killed 5 children after they came out of their mother's, hoo-ha. It's just this is what goes on in our country, but that's not in the news like that. But you can go look it up. It's not a story. Go look it up. Go look up what I just said. It's a real thing. Okay. So when our leaders are misleading us, we need to stand up and we need to push back. We cannot just go along with what they're saying as if it is the gospel. We need to go and we need to look into it. Right now, we have all of our leaders pushing us for putting money into Ukraine, but at the same time, these same people, many of them, especially the Democrats that are liberal Democrats and leftist extremists, have called for reparations. Okay. But with all the money that they've given to Ukraine, a foreign nation, which most of y'all couldn't point out on a map, which most of y'all didn't know existed a couple of years ago, okay, which we have no treaties with, we have no alliances with, okay, we sent all our money over there. We continue to send money over there. but we can't give black people reparations in this country. But you're the same people pushing to give Ukraine money are the same people that say that they want reparations for black people. Somebody's got to make this make sense to me. Somebody's got to make this make sense to me. These are the people who are supposed to be representing us. They are not. Okay, they are representing themselves, their self-interests, and whatever they can say to make you go along or to make it sound good, what they want to do, they'll tell you. When it comes to the government, you need to always ask two questions. If they ask you to achieve it, is it for them or for you? If they ask you to believe it, ask them whether it's true. That's a quote from Saul Williams. Okay, it's very, very, very important that we question these people when they say stuff that's out of line. But we've gotten to a point, and I hope that we can fix it this year, this grand new year, the year of the rabbit. Okay, I hope that we can fix in this year that you cannot question the leftist extremists or the narrative that's being pushed by the Democratic Party. We've got a president who had four different sets of classified level documents, okay, lying around different areas, scattered about, not in secure locations, okay? Four, right? Where did these documents come from? That's a good question. According to President Biden at the USMC meeting that happened the other day, he on the record, I wish I had the video in front of me, I'd play it for you guys. He said that he didn't know where they came from and he didn't know how they got there. You don't know how they got in your garage. You don't know how they got in your office at a facility that bears your name. You know, like, you don't know how they got there. You don't know who put them there. Okay. So this brings us to the point of classification and levels of clearance, right? Who would have the same levels of clearance as him? And this is a very important point that we need to make in comparison to Joe Biden and Donald Trump. I don't like to talk about Trump a lot, but can we talk about this? Trump was just president. Okay, he was just president like 2 years ago. He had these documents that the FBI raided his secure residence, okay, which not only has its own security, okay, not only has Secret Service, but it was in, I don't know if you guys saw the pictures, it was in a crazy ass safe, okay? So that's where those documents were. And we know he just happened to be president just 2 years ago. But these documents that were found at Biden's place were from when he was vice president. I'm going to say that again. The documents that have been found, 4 different sets now, 4 different sets have been found, were from Joe Biden when he was vice president. We're talking over 6+ years ago. These documents are from. And they're just lying about, and he gets on the TV and says, I don't know anything about them. I didn't even know they were there. They've been there for more than 6 years, bro. More than 6 years you've had those documents. Okay? And you don't know anything about them? These are the people that are running our country right now. And if you're okay with any of this, you need to question and reassess what your actual values are. Because this is ridiculous. And I don't understand why the Democrats don't call them out on it. I've got Democrat friends. Most of the people in my city are Democrats. You mean to tell me that they're okay with this? Why are they okay with this? Because people get on the TV and tell them, oh, it's not that bad. But a couple weeks ago, y'all were all gung-ho about Trump. I can't with y'all. Y'all got to be consistent. If you're going to be on something, be consistent about it. That's my issue with all of these people that say, oh, I believe this, I believe that. You don't even stick to what the hell you tell me that you believe. There's this lady, right? And I'm not going to name any names, but she's an elected official and an open socialist, right? Now, I went to a meeting the other day and I was concerned that they were going to vote and that everybody was going to pass this particular piece of legislation because I had issues with the legislation. And the issue was that it wouldn't benefit it wouldn't benefit us as a community, and it would violate, and the whole processes in which it went through violated the tenets of socialistic philosophy. I was concerned that she was going to vote for it, but she didn't. And while I don't mess with her in general, I appreciate that because she was consistent and congruent with the philosophies that she said that she stood up for. So I can't be mad at that. And I'm actually glad, because I didn't like that legislation that they were doing. That was problematic, but it passed anyway, which is a whole nother conversation, which we're not getting into today. But it's interesting how we get so many elected officials who say that they support this or they support that, but when it comes to somebody that's from their side or in their clique, they won't say anything. Oh, it's not that serious. Oh, it's okay. Everything's okay. None of it's okay. None of it's okay. We see that left, right, and forward. I think my biggest issue right now with the federal government is that they continue to lie and disrespect the American people. And I'm not talking about just Democrats. I'm talking about the Republicans too. Okay. I'm very concerned about the GOP, and I've said this publicly and posted it online already. I'm concerned that they're not paying attention to the cultural demographic shift that's going on. Because right now we have a serious change from what they're used to, you know. They're not engaging people the way that they need to be. And I've called them out and said, hey, this is important. We need to address these issues. Especially being that I am a Black Northerner who has conservative values, but is a registered Republican, because Democrats in New York State have no conservative values. They barely have Democratic values. And that's a serious issue. And I know that most of the people that I know that are Democrats are moderate or conservative Democrats, but they won't speak up. They won't say anything. And that's terrifying to me, because they know that stuff isn't right. They don't like certain things that the party is doing, but they'll say nothing. Whereas at least the Republicans are standing up against the establishment. We saw this happen in the House of Representatives with the House of Representatives vote. Members of the Republican caucus were holding up the voting process because they wanted the rules of the way that the House operates to be more actually, how can I say it? They wanted them to be more basically they wanted to change some of the rules that have been put in place by Nancy Pelosi, so that they can actually have better representation for the people and actually have more of a voice for the people. Because everything in Washington, you know, and especially in Congress, is very elitist. So the Republicans that stood up, you take different ones, like Boebert and Gates, and I'm not a big fan of Gates. I'm not. But he did some stuff when Trump was president. I wasn't a big fan of that. But they're standing up, right, for what they say that they believe in, right? And I believe what they believe. I believe that the government is extremely corrupt, that the establishment and the cliquish politicians who are at the top are disenfranchising the people of America, because they are, be they Democrats or be they Republicans. Because we have to understand, all of these people in Congress, most of them have the same bankers, have the same housing people, have the same stockbrokers, have the same relations. Wait, they have the same relations? Yes. Most of the people in Congress that are the elitists, that are the establishment, are related through marriage or through blood. Like, this is not a top secret thing that I'm revealing. This is a top fact. This is a top fact. It's easily researchable. They all go to the same parties. They all do the same thing. Their interest is not our interest. So I am very glad that so many people in the Republican caucus actually stood up and pushed back to make some parliamentary changes in the House of Representatives in the way that it operates, because that's what we're supposed to do as Americans. Thank you, and God bless them. So moving forward, right? Representation and what it looks like, you guys, I don't honestly understand why people keep going along with these establishment philosophies. I read something earlier that said, and I gotta pull it up so I can quote it to you. I wish I had it.
Today, we should be.
Pull it up right here so I can quote it to you. What I was reading, I pulled it up. I said, "Oh man," I said, "That's something serious." Give me 1 second. Okay. Princeton University study. Public opinion has near zero impact on U.S. law. Glens and Page found that the number of Americans for or against any idea has no impact on the likelihood that Congress will make it law. And this is a quote right here that they've pulled from that. It says, the preferences of the average American citizen appear to have only a minuscule, near zero, statistically non-significant impact upon public policy. Jiminy Jam. That's real serious. I'm going to try to see if I can put that there. If that'll, oh no, it won't let you focus. So, but anyway, it's so very serious and clear that our government is not representing us. And being that this is the new year, this is what I encourage everybody for the new year. If you are a registered Republican or a registered Democrat, and you are concerned about the laws and legislation that are being passed by elected officials, go join your local committee, okay? Go join your local political committee. Now, depending on where you live or depending on the denseness of population, you may have a legislative district committee, you may have a city or town committee, or you may only have a county committee. But you need to, if you are concerned and you want to see a different direction for our government to go in, you need to go out and join your local political committee, okay? Especially if you are a Republican or a Democrat. Because if we want to see change, if we want to see better candidates get elected on the local or on the state and federal level, we have to be maneuvering what's being done in these committees. If you are not a member of these committees, you have no real voice in your party. Like it said, like I just read to you, okay, statistically zero impact is the actual voice and opinion of the constituents for laws. They don't give a good golly gosh. Okay? So it's a great new year. This new year is going to be fantastic. There are a few things that we should look out for on the horizon, but we can make this year much better than last year, and we can start to get rid of some of the serious negative things that are being pushed by the government. The new year just started today. So let's make this a good new year. It's talking about politics and stuff like that. I'd really like to bring up the USMC meeting the other day, okay, where they had Canada and Mexico were here, and we put together a document that basically made us have closer ties, making us one nation, basically. It is a problem, and it is extremely unconstitutional. You can go look it up. I wish I had, again, I'm still trying to figure out how to put up links and photos and stuff. But this is now something that has been, and I pray to the Lord that this goes, somebody brings this before the Supreme Court. So basically, they're trying to create one continent government. A one continent government. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I'm not against making one continent government in the Americas. I've already got a name for it. I believe that we should have North America and South America should be united, and we should call it Greater America. I believe that America should be the lead and the most powerful in that collective, okay, because I am American, so self-interest, self-interest. Um, but the fact of the matter is, the way that they just went about it, and I know that anybody listening to this probably didn't even know this happened. So they just automatically put some stuff together and said, hey, you know what? Now we're going to work so closely you can barely distinguish us as independent nations is extremely problematic. It's extremely problematic. But they're not addressing it. You didn't see that in the news. They won't talk about it. And that's very, very serious. We also we're about 3 weeks away from the finishing of the digital dollar test. If you're not familiar with the digital dollar, think Bitcoin, right? But run by the government. So what it does, instead of having going through banks or anything like that, the government will control all of the money all the time, which is interesting, right? Because we've already seen what the government does when they are mad at people. They'll take your money, they'll shut down your accounts, they'll deplatform you, they'll silence you and everything. So this digital dollar that they're pushing right now, and it, like I said, it's almost done in its testing phases, will start to be rolled out in the next year or so. So we need to be up on that and paying attention to that too, because that will be a major shift. We saw what Canada did with the truckers and the protesting truckers. If you donated to the truckers, you got for like $5, they try to take your kids from you. They'd freeze all your bank accounts. They were killing people's pets because of that. Like, I mean, I just and the liberal extremists just go along with this. Oh, it's okay. It's okay because these people were fighting for stuff that they want, and we don't want them to be able to fight for stuff that they want, even if they're doing it peacefully. Come on, come off it. Come off it. Full of malarkey. Absolutely detestable. But this is the state and the environment of nature that we live in with these people right now. I just, it's frustrating. And that's me putting it mildly. To really dig deep into the digital dollar, I'm going to encourage you guys to go look up central bank currencies, okay? CBDC, okay? Central bank digital currencies. You need to go look it up, and you need to figure out how you can benefit when it is implemented, because it will be implemented. We also have the issue with the G20, which everybody was silent on, and that was not in the news or anything. The G20, which we are one of the founding members and the most powerful member in, unanimously voted for international vax passes. Again, something unconstitutional and extremely illegal. But our elected officials are like, yes, this is what we're going to do. People, read your constitution, get a pocket constitution, okay? Keep it with you, read it regularly so that you know what your rights, liberties, and freedoms are, okay? Because they're trying to strip everything from you, and then they'll tell you stuff is in the Constitution that's not. There are many different places that have pocket constitutions or small constitutions. If you're in Rochester and you would like a copy of one, please reach out to me, okay? Shoot me a message, send me an email, something like that, and I'll get you one, because I believe that everybody should have one. Because if we don't know what our rights, liberties, and freedoms are, we won't be able to see them being taken away. And that's what's happening with a lot of the population right now. The same people who told us that we couldn't go in stores or businesses or go shopping or go to the hospital if we didn't fill ourselves full of those, the things, those magical cocktails that we're now finding out are causing strokes in the elderly over 65. But we also know it causes myocarditis in the youth up to from basically toddlers and infants all the way up to like 34. This is why in many European nations, they've already said, no, we're not giving these cocktails to people that are under the age of 34. But now all of a sudden, we've got all these people dying suddenly. The same people that force those things on you, okay, the same people that made it so that you could not go to get food for your children, want to now be forgiven for that. I don't care how you feel about those cocktails or shots one way or another, whether you love them, whether you don't like them. It's neither here nor there. It's the rights, liberties, and freedoms that go along with being an American that were trampled on. I'll fight for anybody else's rights as much as I would fight for my own, even if I disagree with them philosophically, because I would not want anybody to destroy my rights, liberties, and freedoms. And that's something that needs to be popularized along the left, and the extreme left especially, because they're the most intolerant people that I have ever met. Not only can they not defend their positions, if you present a position that is different from theirs, they will attack and assail your character, you personally, because they cannot combat what you're saying actually. You know, you remember these people got on the TV and they told us, excuse the profanity in advance, but this is a quote, Arnold Schwarzenegger, fuck their rights, fuck their freedoms. Are you serious, bruv? Okay, I don't know if you know this. Jacinda Ardern is her last day is today as the Prime Minister of New Zealand. She just resigned. Okay, may the door bite her in the ass on the way out. Okay, she is a horrible, horrible individual. Aside from putting people in internment camps during her reign, she also, before she put the people in the internment camps, and this is important because this goes right back to America, right? New Zealand got rid of all their firearms. They got rid of all their firearms magically right before the pandemic hit. They got rid of everybody's firearms. And then when the pandemic hit, they started to snatch people out of their homes and off their land and force them into internment camps because they could no longer defend themselves because New Zealand took their guns. Okay, so that's something that we need to talk about in America. Okay, like present time. Like we don't need to jump back to Germany, right? We don't need to talk about how this has been done in African countries either. But we can go right to a westernized nation, New Zealand, and say, this is exactly what happened. It happened right now. And now they're trying to take away your right to firearms. You just heard Joe Biden get on the TV the other day and say, oh, well, they want their guns so much, but you'll need planes and stuff to take to get rid of the government. Nobody's trying to get rid of the government. We're not trying to take on the government. We're trying to defend ourselves from the government if need be, because we see the way that y'all move. Y'all move shifty and shiftless. Okay? How's the song go by the OJs? Shady, shiftless type of people. That's them. That's the US government. And it's puzzling to me that people don't see it. You know, Ronald Reagan had a great quote. It says, never forget, the press is the enemy. The establishment is the enemy. The professors are the enemy. Excuse me. Let me say that again. I'm trying to remember it all at one time. Never forget, the press is the enemy. The establishment is the enemy. The professors are the enemy. And you should write that on a board 100 times. Uh-oh. We dropped out for a second. Okay, we're back. I don't know if you guys heard that quote. Never forget, the press is the enemy. The establishment is the enemy. The professors are the enemies. And write that on a blackboard 100 times so you never forget. That was from Ronald Reagan. Not Reagan. Nixon. Richard Nixon. Sorry. So that's something very important. Let's go back to New Zealand for 2 seconds because this is something that needs to be noted. A couple weeks ago, and this didn't get a lot of coverage in the news, there was a set of parents and they needed a transplant for their baby. Is I forget. I want to say it was a liver the baby needed. So the baby needed a liver. They needed to go to the hospital, and the baby would need a transfusion of blood after the surgery. So when they took the baby there, the parents said, "Hey, we don't want them to give the baby anybody's blood that has had the things, those cocktails. They didn't want the baby to get any blood from somebody who had that. That makes sense. It's basically an infant, and you want to give them somebody's blood that has those stuff, and their body hasn't even developed yet. So that's like just reasonable, right? As a parent, you care about the health of your child, and you don't know what the impacts will be because we don't have any freaking data on that. So, and that's if you believe in them, or if you don't believe in the cocktails or whatever. We just don't have the data on what happened if you transfuse blood into infants, okay, that have that from people that have those cocktails in their body. So guess what the government in New Zealand did? Just guess. The government took the child from the parents. It wasn't bad enough that the government took the child from the parents, okay? They took the parental rights away from the parents and gave it to the state, okay? When I say state, I mean the nation, the government, okay? That's what a state actually is, which is why in the United States, each state is its own country, technically. But that's a whole separate conversation. And it was concerning because this is under Jacinda's watch. They just straight stole this baby from its parents. Bringing that back into reference over here in America. I'm glad that she's gone, But bringing that back into America, we saw that they told us that if you don't want your kid to do this or whatever the case is, we'll take away your parental rights also. And now that's transitioned into these, what do you call it? Trans identity type of operations, right? So now if you don't acknowledge that your child wants to get surgery to cut off their breasts or change their hormones or become a eunuch, they'll take your children from you and they'll call CPS on you. This has happened. Okay, this has happened. This, matter of fact, this I want to say 2021. Okay, like August 2021, there was this couple, and you can look this up too. But it wasn't wide coverage. There was a couple, I forget where it was. Their child claimed to be a different gender or whatever the case is. It's neither here nor there. They said that they wanted to be a different gender. Parents said, no, you're out your mind. You cotton picking mine. Okay. The government took the child from the parents. And then subsequently, the child was sexually assaulted and human trafficked twice. Yeah, that's a real thing that happened. So please be very well aware of the liberties and freedoms, especially the parental rights that the government is taking from people. They've got it in New York state law now where where your child, and I'm fairly certain this is already a law, but I know I saw it on something similar on the docket for coming up. But where they can do any type of whatever they want as far as medical procedures to your child, and they don't have to tell you. Okay, that's no bueno. And they snuck that in slow by slow. First, they were like, oh, well, we can just give your child private counseling and not tell you about it. That was years ago. And they slid that in there. Then they started to slide more stuff in there and more and more and more. We cannot let these things start off, because once they start off, they open the gate just a little. But when they open the gate, they throw open the gate. Okay? and everybody else bum rushes inside. So now if you don't believe that your child is a dog, they can take your child from you. It's absolutely ridiculous. Speaking of that, I don't know if you guys heard recent news. There was this lady who identifies as trans canine. Okay. So now this is interesting because we've got these small children right now that have been convinced that they can identify as animals. There are places in certain schools, depending on what state you're in, where they have litter boxes and water dishes for children that identify as cats and dogs. I can't with this, y'all. It's absolutely abhorrent and insane. But anyway, back to this crazy lady. She identifies as trans canine, right? And she got in trouble. Guess for what? Just guess. This lady who calls herself a trans canine got in trouble because she was having sex with a dog on OnlyFans. You can't make the insanity up. You cannot make this insanity up, and people will not push back against this bullshit. That's why it's gotten so far to where we are at this point right now. I want to say it's what, 23 we're in right now. I want to say 21, right? Like the beginning of 21, I saw this video with this. This is when they started to really push all the pronouns and all of this nonsense and stuff like that. There's a video of this teacher, right? And she had asked the class about their pronouns and stuff like that. And one of the kids said that they identified as a animal. And the teacher was like, you can't identify as an animal. And because they said that their pronouns were like cat something or some whatever it was ridiculous, right? And the teacher was like, you can't do that. That's not a thing. You can't, that's not how you're supposed to do the pronouns. And the children all agreed that yes, that is how pronouns work. You can make up whatever pronouns that you want. You guys, this is what we're teaching the youth. This is what we're teaching the children. This is absolutely abhorrent. Anybody who supports this idiocy needs to be psychiatrically evaluated. Okay? This is unreasonable and reprehensible, what's being done to our nation currently. This is a new year. Time for a new beginning. We have to push back. Democrats, Republicans that are against this idiocy need to push back. People need to realize that this isn't just stuff that the more conservative people are just talking about. This is real shit going on every day happening in our society. Okay? We need everyone to start to wake up, and this is a great year to do it. So a couple of things that I believe that you guys should look into and pay attention to coming down the line this year. We talked about the central bank digital currency, but we also need to talk about the AI and the replacement of people in their jobs. Okay, as you've seen, many of the tech companies are trimming the fat really thick. Okay, tens of thousands of jobs in the last couple of weeks have been cut. Okay, this is something we need to be paying attention to. Why are they being cut? They're saying, oh, well, we're looking at going towards a recession. Blink, blink, blink. What? A recession? No, you don't say. We're already in a recession. We're 5 seconds from a Great Depression. Okay? We're in a depression, but we're like 5 seconds from being in the Great Depression, and that's coming. Eggs are what? $9 for a freaking thing of eggs? Right? Like, it's outrageous. Okay? They keep raising your gas and electric prices for your house. Okay? How are people supposed to live? How are people supposed to provide for themselves? Then you cut that also at the same time with the incredible inflation that they're pushing. Okay? And your dollar, your value, okay, is about this much. It's about this much. It's ridiculous. And people are not standing up. They're like, okay, well, let's just go along with it. Or, oh, I'm not going to make a big deal about it. Or I won't make a fuss. No, we need to be making a fuss. Okay? We need to be making a fuss. I've already started to make a fuss on the state level in New York State about these damn food prices. Okay. It's ridiculous that meat costs so much. It's ridiculous that we have this issue in cost of eggs. It's ridiculous that we have these issues in the cost of corn when we produce all of these things. But when you go to the daggone store, okay, it says made in it says product of Argentina, okay, product of Belize, product of Mexico, product of freaking somewhere in the daggone in Asia Minor, okay? Like, we produce these goods here. Our state government needs to make it so that we prioritize production, food production in our state, agricultural production in our state, and that we circulate, okay, the produce and food that we create in our state, inside our state, as a priority. As a priority. But they're not doing it. And when you go to the store, you can try to buy anything. And it's a fucking $1 billion. And they're cutting jobs like it's nobody's business. I just said they told you about them cutting all of these big, giant, well-paying jobs. Look at all the small businesses that are closing down because of the failed government policies, the crime that have also been spurred on by government policies. How many people do they employ? I want to say it's 85 to 87% of all people are employed by what's considered to be a small business. Okay. And I want to say out of that 85-ish percent, 70, and I'm trying to get these statistics correct, but I'm trying to pull them out of my head and I'm not sure specifically. I want to say it's 76 something or something percent like that are micro businesses that employ people in our country. And they're cutting left and right because they can't afford anything. They can't afford anything. Go ask a small business owner that lives near you how their prices have gone up. Now, how are they supposed to pay employees? How are they supposed to pay themselves? And these are issues that are not being addressed by our government. And the fact that our state government tells us to go bang ourselves over the food prices is ridiculous and reprehensible. Nobody in the state level, in the assembly or in the Senate are trying to do anything about it. I'm pushing for it. And you'll see me, I'll talk more about that, my interactions with these assembly people as I work to champion for us to bring the means of productions for agricultural produce back to New York State. Okay? Long live New York. Word. We used to be the Excelsior state, right? The Empire state, always ever upward, right? We're so far below and keep going down. It's rough. But they don't really care because the prices of things don't affect the people that are really entitled. But we saw Cardi B get on the TV the other day and she's like, blah, 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 all the curses. You know how she talks. Oh, the prices of eggs are out of control. The prices of food is out of control. How, if I got all this money and I go in there to shop and these prices are high for me, how are they for the regular people? Bitch, you told everybody to vote for Joe Biden. Are you serious? This is your fault. We knew the policies that he was promoting. It's not like he didn't say it. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. It's absolutely reprehensible. And I'm doing my best not to curse up a fury storm. Okay. But I hate those people that champion for Biden. Okay. And now are mad that literally everything that the people said was going to happen when Biden got into office has happened and worse. You know, it's absolutely out of control. But you know, something else is interesting when it comes to that. The current administration that we have that runs our government has, for the last 2 years, had sole control over the Senate and the House of Representatives. So they had the Senate, the House of Representatives, and the presidency. That's the whole executive branch right there. Excuse me, not the executive, the whole legislative branch right there. Okay? It's a problem. And they had the executive branch too, right? So they had a whole legislative branch, they had a whole executive branch. And what did they do? Where are the deliverables? Except sending hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine. You know that, and this point needs to be very clear. You know that we have a serious homeless population in our country. Okay. You know that we have a serious food scarcity issue in our country, food accessibility issue in our country. Okay. It's estimated that it would only cost $3 billion. Or is it 30 billion? No, I'm pretty sure it's 3. Okay. It might be 30, but regardless, to actually end homelessness in this country. How much money have we sent to Ukraine? Many multiples more than what we needed to be able to get rid of homelessness in our nation. Many, many multiples more than what we need to feed all of the people in the country for years. It's out of control. It's out of control. Excuse me one second. But for me, I think the most glaring issue is that they continue to tell us, the people, that everything is okay. We saw they got rid of all of these people at these major corporations. So what's next for the little people? Walmart said that if they keep getting robbed, they're going to shut down all of their physical locations and just do business online. They already have all of the cashiers gone pretty much. You know what I'm saying? We've got Denny's and other restaurants. Now they've got servers that are robots. We've got all these fools over here at Starbucks saying, we're going to unionize for Starbucks. Man, I could go buy a $50,000, $70,000 machine right now to do the job of 5 of y'all. Okay. And won't need nobody in a Starbucks to operate. Like, I feel like people do not understand what they're pushing for and the impacts. They're creating a lot of self-obsolescence and a rush towards machines. We've had great leaps forward in AI technology. Really, most of the technology is actual machine learning, but some of it is AI, and both of those things are concerning. But with the AI, it's going to replace most of the jobs. Almost every middle management, forward-facing position, gone. Almost every retail customer service position, gone. Okay, we need to wake up, and that's something that we seriously need to be paying attention to for this year. If you are not a tradesperson, maybe you look into a trade. Maybe you look into how can you secure up some money, because shit's about to get real. Even in the best, right? Even if we say this is going to be the best year that we've had in decades, in ever, in a lifetime, even if it is, that employment situation is still going to be one of the biggest issues this year, because large companies will continue to cut jobs. We just had them announce in Rochester $68 million worth of investment in a GM plant here to build some more engines. Okay, here's a fun fact. They didn't say that was going to be, they were going to hire any more people because of that. Fun fact, they didn't say it was going to create any new jobs. Fun fact, most of the processes can now be done with, well, robots. And anybody that's been like a worker for cars for like a few decades has seen the fast way that machines have pushed people out of jobs. So that was something that was very interesting, because we're pushing all of this investment into all of these different industries. But how will people be able to afford anything in another 10 years? In 10 years, I can guarantee you we're going to be missing 25% of the jobs that we currently have as far as people who are employed. Okay, which is what? It's about what? We got about 125 million people. Let's just call it, we'll split the difference. Let's just call it, we'll probably lose about 30 million jobs in the next 10 years. Okay, because of automation, because of AI. People need to be seeing how they can take advantage of these things ahead of time. We have the impending collapse of our currency because we were already seeing hyperinflation. We have the drugs that are just pervading everywhere. We have the issues with foreign governments like China, which we won't take seriously, which is a whole nother conversation. And we have the issue of the brainwashing of the children. They continue to soften the minds of the children so that they can put into their heads what they want. And that's why we are here where we are now. That's why we see them tearing up Atlanta, because they were told that it was okay. That's why we see people identifying as trees, because they told them it was okay. And they're pushing this. They're indoctrinating this into people's brains. It is a serious issue. And I'm going to end by saying this, and I'll catch you guys later because I got some stuff I got to handle. But we have to conceptualize what the word trans means, okay? It doesn't mean a goddamn thing because it's a prefix. You understand what I'm saying? The word trans is a prefix. It goes at the beginning of something. Trans-Pacific. You understand what I'm saying? Trans-Pacific Railroad, if you guys aren't familiar. That used to be one of the biggest railroads. Anyway, it's a word, right? That's not a word. It's a prefix. So now we've got these people and we're calling them trans, right? But trans implies that it's short for changing into something else in this case, in this aspect. But what the hell are they changing into? And at what point is the change completed? They want to be called trans men and trans women. Fuck no. Because you're not trans anything. Because you're not. Because you can't tell me at what point you are a woman or you are a man. You can't tell me that. You can't tell me. You done made up a whole different terminology talking about you want your own stuff when I thought the whole concept was we need equality. We need equity. I thought this was the whole ridiculous concept that's being pushed. But you want all your own stuff. So much so that instead of the word trans, meaning that you're going to something and you're going to be something different, that implies, this is important. This is very important. If you are calling yourself trans, then you are whatever the hell you were born as, period. Okay? If you are trans and you're saying you're a trans woman, you're wait, I don't even know how this works, right? Because I don't even use these damn terms. So I don't know which one's the man and which one's a woman. But fuck it. If you were born a boy, you're a boy. If you're born a girl, you're a girl. Call yourself fucking Kung Fu Kitty or whatever the hell you want to call yourself. You were still a boy or a girl when you were born. You are still a boy or a girl currently, okay? And you will always be a boy or a girl because, as I have stated, you in and of yourself that are pushing these things on us are calling yourselves trans whatever. But you're not trans anything because you're saying you're transitioning and you can never complete that process. That's like somebody telling you that they're a trans lawyer. How the hell you can be a trans lawyer? You either are a lawyer or you're not a fucking lawyer. Which one is it? Okay? You can't be both. Well, I'm working on becoming a lawyer. Well, you get back to me when you become a lawyer, okay? Because right now, you're not a lawyer. So don't put that in your statement. And that's something that we need to be bringing up. Every time somebody says some dumb nonsense like that, it needs to be brought up. We saw the Miss America pageant. This, I think she was Filipino. You know, they do a lot of Filipino or Thai, probably. Probably. I'm gonna wager. I'm not gonna take that bet. Filipino or Thai. I'm not gonna say she's one or the other just by looking or the fact. And I'm using the word she, and you'll see why in a second. Even though I don't believe it, but it's okay. So the Miss Universe pageant is a beauty pageant for fucking women. Okay, you're letting these trans people in there that again, we've established that being a trans is not anything. So basically, you're letting dudes in a fucking female pageant telling me that, and right now, Miss Universe is a fucking trans, right? Right? The most beautiful woman is a man. That makes me need a cigarette. I don't even smoke. The most beautiful, it's nothing but a destruction of the feminine, right? But back to what the lady said, or the dude, lady boy. Okay, back to what the lady boy said. It said, which apparently it is a thing that you can call people now again, even though you used to not be able to call people it was a discriminatory term, and now it is a self-identification and a way that you can use your pronouns. It's a sickness. It's a sickness going on, and we need healing. Okay, in America's and the rest of the world. It's crazy. So this Miss Universe owner person said, and now, and I can't do the accent, so I'm not even going to try. And that's why I believe it's more likely Thai than it is Philippines. But it doesn't matter. The fact it was said, and now the matter of fact, I can do you one better. I can actually pull up the video and let them tell yourself. Let me see if I can grab that real quick, because it was crazy, right? So now we've got a trans person talking about as a trans woman, it's great to be a part of this. And now this organization is going to be owned by a woman, run by women, for women. You're not a woman. Not a woman. Not a woman. Will never be a woman. Cannot be a woman. Unless you have your brain transplanted into a female body, you will never be a woman. Period. So stop saying that you are women. You're not. Okay? And it's a problem. Let's see. I'm trying to pull up this video, and again, I apologize because I can't. I'm not familiar with how to put this on the streaming thing yet. Let me see. Miss Universe. Let's see if I can grab this for you guys. Let's see. Oh, cheapers. Here it is.
The Miss Universe organization ran by men. But now, time is up. Is the moment ready for women to take the lead? Women's Empowerment Platform. Welcome to the Miss Universe organization. From now on, it's going to be ran by women, owned by trans women, for all women.
Fuck no. Period. Okay? Absolutely not. This is the desolation of the female itself, the female feminine. Now, in defense of the lady boy, okay, there's been a lot of work done in order to make this lady boy look like a actual female, which is different than these drag performers, which look like they just got shot with Homer's makeup shotgun. If you guys aren't familiar with, there is a makeup gun in The Simpsons that Homer had created when he was doing an inventing thing. But it was crazy. Anyway, but it looks like they got shot with a makeup gun and they just look crazy, right? Like they're not even trying. This lady boy tried real hard. Okay? But now drag people represent the whole community of alphabet people. It's reprehensible. It's reprehensible and the lowest denomination of the alphabet genre. Okay? Like they are legitimately popularizing you guys as freaking clowns. And I don't see enough people that are in that space speaking up against that. And they need to make it more publicly. Even though I know you'll be chastised, but you need to say something before you can't say nothing. Because they're trying to push this agenda of ambiguity, so that nobody has any type of genders. Okay, the whole concept of gender fluid, right? Like all this damn nonsense, when the concept of being a homosexual is your self-identity is that you are a homosexual because you are attracted to people of the same sex, the same gender. So if they get rid of genders and sex, they're getting rid of you. You're gone. You can't identify as that anymore. And you need to wake up, because that's something that's very important. If you ask me, people need to stop using the term trans and attached to anything. Okay? It's ridiculous. Unless you're, what is it? Unless you're a transvestite, okay? The dude that likes to wear women's clothes, okay? Not necessarily are they attracted to men, okay? Which also could be considered a cross-dresser, but a transvestite. Or unless you're a tranny / transsexual, which is a dude with boobs and a dick. You know, that I can understand that concept, but whether I agree with it or not, okay? Those are that's it. That's it. That's the only trans that there is when it comes to that, the sexuality stuff. That's it. Anything else is a trash lie and a misrepresentation. Okay? They keep using words in English and trying to redefine them and rewrite. I don't know whether you want to call it actuality or reality or whatever you want to call it, but it's out of control. And I stand by everything that I said, every word, every syllable of it. I don't care if it's rebroadcasted or showed somewhere else. I tell somebody else the same damn thing. Okay? I've got friends that are that are trannies, and I talk to them all the time, and you know they're good people and stuff like that. But this whole trans narrative is a very serious problem, because they're trying to, like I said earlier, the lady that identified as trans canine that had sex with the dog on OnlyFans. Like, this is where we are now, y'all. Like, this is what you're allowing. Like, this is the society that you've cultivated. So for the new year, let's disband the use of that term. You understand what I'm saying? If you want to be some sort of a butch dude that wants to make like they're a man, but they're a woman, okay, fine. But don't tell me that you're a man, okay? If you want to change your whole body, get all the plastic surgery, if you want to look like one of those lady boys or one of those Brazilian trannies, okay, also fine, absolutely fine. However, when you start telling me that you are a woman or you represent women, I can't say what I want because they'll definitely deplatform me. But when you say that, you are doing a great disservice to humanity, period, point blank. And we need to make sure that we're starting to nip that shit in the bud, okay? Because it's causing serious issues throughout not only our nation, but also through our nation's culture, okay? It's also impacting birth rates and all types of other stuff, as well as different. That's not what I'm here to talk about. It's a fucking problem. We need to address it, and we need to make sure that it doesn't continue. Okay, we need to stop using that terminology because it's not real terminology. Okay, they can call it, shift words around, try to reconstruct definitions. It's just not something that we can continue on with moving forward. And it's not just that, right? It's other words too. Like they changed the definition of what a vaccine is to make these mRNA cocktails, which are gene editing, they're gene therapy. Okay, they changed the definition of that to fit that, and so now it can be a vaccine, but doesn't have to stop. Excuse me, I need some water. And it doesn't have to stop transmission. It doesn't have to stop you from catching it. And it doesn't have to stop you from dying. So it's not actually a vaccine, but they try to change the word. They try to change the word of what a meaning of what a recession is. 2 negative growth periods is a recession. The White House changed the definition of what a recession is, so they don't have to make it say that we're in a recession. If you haven't ever read the book 1984, put this on your top of your list for this year. Read the book 1984, okay, and you'll see exactly what they're doing with this double speak and double think, okay, to reposition these words so that nobody can actually conceptualize reality. That's the concerning part. So you know how they say that people don't know it. The way that they change the terminology changes the way that you think. So you can barely conceptualize something outside of what they're telling you it is. We've got to move away from these things in the new year. It's going to be a freaking fantastic new year. This is going to be a great year. A great, great year. I'm going to do great things. I hope you do great things. I wish you great bounty and a great harvest. And I hope you get rich. Okay? Because we got some work to do. I'll catch you guys later. Be blessed. Be well. And if you want a pocket constitution and you're in Rochester, please let me know. Shoot me a message. Shoot me an email. Call me on the phone. I'll get you one. Send me a text message. Okay? I'll catch you guys later. Be blessed. Be well. And I have no clue how to stop this thing now. Okay, there we go. I'll catch you guys a little bit.